welcome back to another episode, another installment of the Purple Rain podcast. We love you, we appreciate you, and thank you for sticking with us. First and foremost, you can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain podcast. This guy right here on Instagram or on X at Sutton Def. Me, Instagram simply AS10. Dot prod X simply AS10. Most importantly, our sponsor Manscaped. Use code PRP for 20% off your whole order and free international shipping. It does mean the world. But I have to ask you, how have you been? It's been a minute since we talked. Ravens have made some signings, some stuff has gone down, but most importantly, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty well. Honestly, appreciate you for asking, Alex. And as far as the Ravens, it's kind of been the very typical off season. Early on, no big splash moves. Of course, the DeAndre Hopkins signing was kind of like a really big thing, but not as big as maybe a lot of Ravens fans would have liked. But so far, yeah, it's been a pretty typical offseason. Of course, we'll talk about the signing of Chidobe Awuzie, who is the newest addition to the Baltimore Ravens, who I think is actually a really good fit, especially considering the price. We'll get into that in just a second here. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about life overall, and then also our Baltimore Ravens. I think we're on the right track as of right now. So let's go ahead and see who we have here in the live chat. As you guys always know, we love to bring up the live Rain Gang. Whoever's watching live on YouTube, whoever's watching live on X, whoever's watching live on Instagram as well. Shout out and hello to all of you guys. Welcome to the Purple Rain Podcast, episode 303. We see we have Robert Kraus in the building. What's going on, Robert? Says Malik Harrison will dominate the ground. Uh, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Malik Harrison a little bit down the road in this episode. Lisa says, "Hey, Alex, Sutton, Def, and friends. I'm home from the hospital, and no nurses waking me up in the middle of the night.
That's fantastic.
Glad to have you home. Yeah, that's fantastic,
Freaking
Lisa.
fantastic.
Appreciate you for coming through, rocking out with us as you always do." Let me see. So Shamil Malik is also here. Says, "Just watch the O's shit on the Dirty Birds." Oh man,
Yeah.
love that opening day, right?
Yes, opening day, 12-2. 6 home
Yeah.
runs. That's how you do it.
Wow. Shout out to the O's. Let me see. How's it going, Rain Gang? Says SG. Just got done watching the O's dominate the Blue Jays. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay. You guys keep on showing us you're here in the live chat. If you're not watching this episode 303 of PRP live and you're part of the hashtag replay gang, first of all, shout out to you. Thank you so much for coming through. Make sure you leave a comment down below and like this video if you like what you're listening to and you want more off-season content coming from the PRP channel. Okay. So, a couple things to get into on this episode, a couple things on the docket. Of course, if there's anything you guys want to talk about, put it down below in the comment section. We do want to get to those as well. But starting off, Ravens, like I said before, signed Chidobe Awuzie, right? Alex, I want to let you go ahead and just lead on this one. Tell me what happened this past Tuesday.
Yeah, so Awuzie, most of us may remember him, his time with the Bengals where he had his best year, was released from the Titans earlier this offseason. And surprisingly, out of nowhere, there was no real talks about it. The Ravens just say, hey, we've agreed to terms with Chidobe Awuzie on a one-year contract. So he's going to his 9th year. So we obviously need somebody to take over for Brandon Stevens. He signed a 3-year, $36 million contract last offseason with the Titans, and they did have the best pass defense. Only knock on him is the I word. Did have a groin I word. Took him out for most of the year. And in typical Ravens fashion, this won't cost us a comp pick. So we'll sign him and not get affected with the formula for next year. But it's a 1-year, I believe, vet minimum deal because he's still making 7.5 mil from the Titans. So, to me, I'll take it. A 1-year vet minimum for a guy who just was the highest paid corner last free agency, not a bad deal. So if he can stay healthy, he can produce. And let's just hope the Ravens just get another one of those 1-year minimum deal hits.
Yeah, a little 1-year wonder action. Hopefully, we can get from Chidobe Awuzie. Now, the thing about this move to me is that it really does make it kind of seem like what we're gonna do in the first round of the draft is a little bit more clear, right? Because a lot of people are calling for, hey, go out in the first round of the draft and pick up a DB. Pick if the best player is available and he's a DB, go ahead and pick him. I don't think at this specific point that we would be going for a DB in the first round of the draft, but kind of zooming out from that and just talking about Awuzie as a player, I think that this is a good move mainly because it allows the rest of the secondary to kind of be in their natural positions, right? So Nate Wiggins has always been on the outside played on the outside. But Marlon Humphrey is a guy who is a lot more comfortable in the slot, especially in our nickel defense where there's an extra corner on the field. And Awuzie, as we know, is an outside corner as well. So I think with Awuzie being on the field, with Nate Wiggins then being on opposite sides of the field, and then Marlon Humphrey lined up in the slot, I think that could actually be a pretty good combination for this Ravens defense. And of course, with Kyle Hamilton, AD floating back there as well at safety. I like this move. I like this move a lot. And I can't really say too much about it right now, like in terms of like negativity. I mean, like you said, the only thing I think somebody said in the chat here, uh, somebody said in the chat that the only thing that he has over Brandon Stevens, which is basically his replacement, Chidobe Awuzie, that is the only thing Brandon Stevens has over him is availability because Stevens was more available than him. Like you said, he suffered with the eye wards, had a growing last year. But hey, man, if this guy can stay healthy, the comp pick formula is not affected, right? We're not paying a boatload of money for him. I think the Titans, like you said, are paying him like $7.5 million that they owe him this year. Um, this is a great move. It's a great move, honestly, and it keeps our defense kind of stable and gives us some more clarity going into the draft.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not going to rule out a DB pick. I feel like if one of these safeties falls to 27, I think it's all in play. I mean, I think we're now kind of just at that BPA formula. Like, if we're EDC and Harbaugh, they're going to say we don't have any holes in the roster, maybe defensively. And, like, if there is a guy there, I think we'll take him. I feel like getting him here, um, getting a Awuzie here kind of is like, all right, well, we can go anywhere in the draft now because we have that second or third corner now locked up in him. But I'm right there with you. Though. I would like to see lineman or edge now first round, but I don't think I can rule out defensive back just with what we've done in recent memory. Um, with that being said, though, I'm not going to roll back even trading back. I feel like this is a really good class. I think there's going to be a lot of first round talent left in the second round. So I kind of hope there is a little run of quarterbacks in the first round, not going to lie. And, some of the better players get the fall. We can trade back, get more picks, and get maybe, one or two quality guys within the first, 45, 50 picks. But it definitely fills up a semi big question mark on the defense. Losing Brandon Stevens, losing a lot of snaps. If Awuzie stays healthy, he can produce, and he knows AFC football, which is big.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta disagree with you there. I don't think that the Ravens should necessarily trade back. I mean, we've already got 11 picks, and if this is a deep enough draft, I think that we should make do with the 11 picks, or even package some of those picks to maybe move up a couple of spots, and take a guy that we really really like. I think about a couple of seasons ago when we got Kyle Hamilton. That was kind of like a big BPA pick because a lot of us included, wanted us to go ahead and scoop up like a Jordan Davis or something like that. But I think Jordan Davis actually got picked 2 picks before Kyle Hamilton, if I remember correctly.
I think he was
Something like
13.
that.
He was right before him.
Yeah, right before him. Yeah, right before him. Um, but no, that was like the ultimate kind of like BPA pick right there at number 14. But so this year, I think that at 27, I think we definitely got to stand firm there. And if it's me, I'm gonna go edge rusher at that at that pick, whether that's Donovan, the kid at Boston College, or James Pierce. One of those guys, maybe if they're available at 27, I say you take a swing on one of them, man. I mean, this is an edge rushers league. That is a premium position in this league, and I understand the philosophy. I totally understand the philosophy of, since the Ravens are normally picking in this kind of like 20 to 29 range, right? Instead of going out and getting like the third or fourth best player at a premium position, go out and get the first best player at a less than premium position. You know what I mean? Like that seems to be like what the Ravens formula is with the whole BPA strategy. I could totally see us, getting a guard or something like that, or like you said, getting like a safety, or getting just DB in general. So it's just we'll have to wait and see. But like you said, it does give the Ravens kind of like that cushion and kind of like that clarity going forward into the draft, knowing that they don't really have a ton of like big holes to fill.
Yeah. And to be fair, though, I've seen us getting mock safeties. I've seen Malachi Starks get mocked here and Nick Manawari if he does fall. But I didn't really
Yeah.
see us getting mocked Nate Wiggins that much last year. So, I mean, hopefully that's a good sign. Hopefully, we can start getting, we don't get mocked offensive linemen or edge rushers and we take one. Fingers crossed. But I still think there's a question mark with Owe. I feel like him making that $15 to $16 million cap hit is still kind of weighing down on us. Like I would like for us to maybe extend him. If not, hate to say trade him. But I saw our edge rush win rates, and man, they were pretty stinky last year. I'm not gonna lie. I know we had a lot of sacks, but I didn't realize, man, that win rate wasn't good. So I don't know if that was maybe the DBs locking up guys and get some coverage sacks, but I'm right there with you. If we get an edge guy to come in here, hopefully day one, and really make some moves, I'd really be over the moon. Cause like that's just like the last piece on this defense that really can take us over and above the hump.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me see what you guys are saying here in the chat. See, my guy Jeremiah's in here. What's going on, Jeremiah? Jeremiah says, I liked him in Cincinnati, and Tennessee is paying him incredible value we're getting here with Chidobe Awuzie. This is one of the main reasons, like I said, that I love, if I had to say like it, love it, or hate it, I'd say I love it, mainly because, number one, again, like I said, gives us clarity going into the draft. But number two, just the value that we got from him. Like I said, doesn't count towards the comp pick formula. And, Tennessee is paying him out this season, 1 year minimum deal. There's nothing but upside there. Nothing but upside. We just have to hope he stays healthy pretty much. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Lisa says, we're going to the Super Bowl. I'm calling it right now, guys. Lisa, I would love for that to happen. I would love for that to come true. Yeah, it's just such, we're at a place now as Ravens fans where we have to see it to believe it. Like, there is no more like wishing on a star. There is no more like, the early bold predictions or anything like that. It's like, honestly, like, for a lot of Ravens, content creators, people who cover the Ravens, things like that, it's got to be frustrating sometimes because it's like, what else do you want us to say? You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like, what else do you want us to say? Like, other than the fact that like this team is like always on the precipice of like, just the ultimate victory, getting to the Super Bowl. But, and that's another thing that's another thing, Alex. Like, we're talking about like these moves like Chidobe Awuzie coming in and joining us, and it's like, okay, how much does this really move the needle? How much do any of the draft picks that we get? How much do they move the needle in terms of getting us that much closer to a Super Bowl? Because I like what Kyle Hamilton said a couple of weeks ago. Like, there's really nothing else we need. We can sit up here all day and talk about, oh, yeah, we need to go get a game-wrecking edge rusher, or we need to go get another corner or something like that, or we need to go get somebody at left guard. We can say all these things, but at the end of the day, it's something deeper than just personnel. It's something deeper than just roster spots and trying to make sure that this is one of the best rosters in the league, which it is, I think. It definitely does rival some of the other best ones in the league as well, like the Eagles, so on and so forth. But, it's just it's a mindset thing to me. You know what I mean? It's a mindset thing. Of course, we all know this team is led by Lamar Jackson and, really this Ravens offense nowadays in 2025. I think that, and I don't want to get back into the head coaching thing all over again, but John Harbaugh has to wake up and smell the coffee this offseason and really say to himself, like, okay, how many more years are we going to kind of squander what we got going on here? Because there's not going to be a whole lot more of prime Lamar Jackson years left, right? If we're being honest with ourselves, we've probably got, a good maybe 5 to 6 more, I would say, like prime years of Lamar before there starts to be some sort of, like a drop off or something like that. Just naturally, that's just how things work, right? But in that time, if the Ravens do decide to extend Harbaugh and he's here for the rest of those years, because of course we'll keep Lamar Jackson, something's got to change. Something's got to give because, like you said, like we're looking at Lisa's comment here, and Alex and I are just kind of like, we don't trust it. We don't trust it anymore, right?
Every year it's always the same. The Ravens Revenge Tour. The Ravens Revenge Tour. Like we've been saying that since before COVID was a thing. You know what I mean? Like I'm not buying into it. Like that's why for the past 2 years we've been like, all right, cool. Like we're gonna go 11, 12, 13 wins in the regular season. But we need to see something in the postseason, and that's kind of where we've been at. And I hate to be that way because a lot of teams would love to be in our position,
Yeah.
but with higher quality of players, higher quality of play, it means higher standards and expectations. So I expect, honestly, I think we're gonna go 13-4, 14-3 next year. I think that pound for pound, we're probably a top 3 roster in the NFL, and that's just not me like with purple glasses. I think that's just me stepping back and looking from afar. Honestly don't think we've had a bad offseason move so far. We've let go people who I feel like are replaceable. We brought back guys who I feel like can make a difference. We've signed people in key points. I don't think we've overpaid anybody by any means. Even Cooper Rush, what, $4 million guaranteed? Big whoop-de-doo. I mean, like I said, I think he'll come in a couple of games in the fourth quarter when we don't need Lamar playing, which is good. So
Yeah.
we're making the right moves. I feel like we've kind of jumped the team, or two. I think a pound for pound. With that being the Chiefs, I don't know. I don't like with their offseason. I'll be honest with you, man. I don't think they've really done anything to wow me. I think they've gotten weaker at the point of offensive line in the trenches.
Mm.
So I mean, like I feel like it's there for the taking. But I said this last year. It's just like you said, coaching is what's going to come down to. Like, is Derrick Henry going to regress? He won't put up however many touchdowns he put up, but he'll for sure put up what 11, 12, 13, 14 probably. He'll have 1,400 yards rushing. Lamar will be Lamar. Like our guys are going to progress, and we got D Hop now receiver. So I'm right there with you, man. Like I know what my expectations are, but I'm not gonna say we're going to win the Super Bowl, unfortunately, because we've been hurt too many times before.
Yeah, yeah, we are very calloused, for lack of better words, as Ravens fans at this point. Shamil Malik in the house. What's going on? Shamil says, our pass rush is so inconsistent, man. I wish we can get that guy at edge. Imagine Roquan with Kyle Hamilton behind him and just an absolute demon off the edge, or a demon inside or interior D lineman. I mean, yeah, that is. I mean, like I just sat up here and I talked about how there really aren't that many glaring holes on this Ravens roster, which there aren't, but a game-wrecking edge is one of those pieces, and edge, being a premium position in the NFL, that would, I think, take this defense, I would say, over the top. It's not to say that they still couldn't choke in the playoffs and not generate any pressure, things like that, and or not force turnovers rather. But that is probably the one missing piece, and I think that would definitely it would bode well for the rest of the team as well. Like you said, the secondary, if they've got a guy like a demon in the trenches, like coming off the edge, and he's really putting pressure on the quarterback, they have to allocate extra resources to stop that guy. Then that's going to make the job of the secondary that much easier, and we will see more turnovers forced by guys like Nate Wiggins, guys like Kyle Hamilton on the back end, Ardarius Washington, guys like that. So, I totally agree with you, Shamil, and that's another reason why I do think that it's worth taking a swing on an edge rusher. Within the first two rounds, like one of your first two picks, if your first two picks, if one of those is not edge rusher, then I think that the draft is automatically a failure. If you ask me, I would cap it out. I would cap the grade for the Ravens draft at a D plus if they did not pick an edge rusher with their first two picks.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a good way to put it. Same way we needed a tackle last year, and we got Rosengarten in the second round. You got to get them there. You need a day one starter. I feel like, because I'm all out on Ajabo. As for our edge guys, Van Noy and Owe are going to be starting, but behind them, what do you got? I like Tavius Robinson, but I don't think I can rely on him every down. So you need somebody else behind there, and I'm right there with you, man. Like you see what these edge rushers are going for contract wise because they're so few, just premium guys, and I want us to have that guy. We've been crying out for one. Um, I want to say some slugs, but Judon had some good years here, and obviously Van Noy did, Clowney did, but we want that star top three, top 4 or 5 guy that can just take over the game and get us that 4 strip sack when we really need a turnover, and we
Yeah,
just haven't had that unfortunately.
yeah, yeah. Somebody tweeted me the other day, and I was telling, I tweeted after the Awuzie signing was announced. I said that, so okay, so definitely edge first round, right? And somebody tweeted me, it was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and he was like, oh, are Owe and Ojabo not getting it done? Are they not balling? And I guess you can throw Kyle Van Noy in there as well, even though he didn't say that. But it's like, yeah, those guys, they ball, right? I mean, like, they get their sacks. But when it matters most, and we need to be able to get home with 4, kind of like the Eagles did against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and they won that game overwhelmingly. Same thing with the Bucks a couple of years ago against the Chiefs again in the Super Bowl. We don't really generate that type of pressure with a 4-man front. A lot of our sacks are off of manufactured pressures, blitzes, things like that, and that's only going to take you but so far, in this league, with these talented quarterbacks, especially in the playoffs when the going gets really, really tough. They will thread the needle on you. If you try to manufacture pressure and you can't get home with 4, puts a lot more stress on your DBs, a lot more stress. So that is yeah. Edge is totally probably the most important thing right now that the Ravens need to kind of address. We got DWAS in the house dropping the 2-piece in the chat. Appreciate you, DWAS, for coming through. He says, who is your favorite draft prospect, Alex?
Um, I'm gonna take my Maryland bias away. I do like what's his name? I like Jaden Higgins from Iowa State, wide receiver. To be honest with you, I like the way he plays. A little bit dog in there. Been watching him, and then defensively, I like the safety from South Carolina. There's something about safeties I really like watching, and he's one of them. And if he fell to 27, I wouldn't mind him being in Baltimore because I'm just thinking of what we can do. Um, but if we passed an edge rush, I wouldn't be happy. But those are my favorite draft prospects that I've watched so far.
Yeah, yeah.
So I gave
And
you offensive defense. There you go. Hope you're happy.
nice, nice. And just to let you guys know as well, since draft season is basically here, the draft is right around the corner, less than a month away. We will be doing a full draft coverage episode with our guy Jason from Huddle It Up Films whenever he's available. He's been doing a great job as he does every single offseason, posting draft content. He's got his big board out now. You can find that on Twitter at Huddle It Up Films. So we will be having him through so we can talk all things draft. But again, thank you so much, DWAS, for your super chat donation. We appreciate you for making it rain on this episode 303 of PRP. All right. So let me see what else you guys are saying. RTV says we need a player to create turnovers. This was funny. The other day I was on Twitter and somebody had tweeted about the one play. It was the play in the Bills game. The Bills lost in the playoffs, and it was the deep ball to Rashad Bateman where he gets brought down at the 1. And the caption was, "How do we not score here?" And Marlon Humphrey replied to the tweet and said, "Okay, maybe it's time to let it go. Maybe it's time to let this go." In typical Marlon Humphrey, not taking football seriously when he's not on the field fashion. That's kind of like what he does. That's his thing. But the guy responded to him and said something along the lines of hey, you got to create turnovers. You got to force turnovers, right? Do that. And Marlon Humphrey responded back and said, "Yeah, you're right. That's true." So the acknowledgement there I did like from Marlon Humphrey. I mean, it's kind of like two different sides of the coin, nonchalant Marlo, number one, but he actually did come back and say, you're right. I'll be honest, we do need to force more turnovers in the postseason, because if you don't and you continue to lose the turnover battle, you're going to lose most of the games. I think that it's a crazy stat. It's almost 80% of the teams who win the turnover battle in the playoffs win the game, So as long as we're losing turnover battles, we're going to keep losing playoff games and keep having these disappointing ends to the season.
Yeah, as unfortunately, that's just the name of the game. Got to be smart with the ball, and when we don't turn the ball over, we won our past couple of playoff games, and we turned it over, we lost them. So that's just how it goes. Protect the ball and try to take the ball away. And it has to be a point of emphasis on the offseason because, come on now, we can't be relying on just bad throws from elite quarterbacks. We're not playing Russell Wilson every playoff game, just throwing up moon balls. And thankfully, he's out the division now. Well, not really thankfully, because I would love to play him again because. I'll talk about that later, man, Russell Wilson. But, yeah, man, it's just we're too good of a team to not be forcing turnovers. We have too much talent on defense, too much money invested in these guys to not be getting turnovers. So,
yeah,
don't want to be all doom and gloom. Hopefully, we can get somebody that can force them. Maybe we make some changes scheme-wise, or maybe we start using players differently to get some more turnovers. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But hopefully it can start happening, because that is kind of the next step, to getting further in the playoffs. It's just as simple as this. The more opportunities that you give to Lamar Jackson, the higher the odds are that the Ravens are going to win the football game. It's just as simple as that, right? Let me see. We got Tanja Bowman in the house. Says, "What's up, guys? I'm late." What's going on, Tanja? Appreciate you for coming through. You're not late. You're right on time, right where you need to be. Locked in here with PRP, Alex and myself. Appreciate you for coming through. Let me see. Dre is in the building. What's going on, Dre? Drayski says Steelers might be cooked quarterback-wise. LOL, Aaron Rodgers might not play this year. I did see something about a report saying that Aaron Rodgers, or I think Adam Schefter, has said as long as he's not hearing anything about Aaron Rodgers actively wanting to play, then it's still maybe on the table that he might shut it down and retire. Who knows? We don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to play. But he was just in Pittsburgh last week, I believe, visiting the Steelers. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers potentially coming to the AFC North?
Okay, like I said, he I don't think he'll make it through the full season in the AFC North. Not to be a cocky Ravens fan, he's not good anymore. They're gonna go 9-8. They'll just get 500. Tom the streak will continue. They'll start off 5-2. The media will be hyping them up, and then they're just gonna fall from grace. Isn't? Are we not seeing this? Are we just gonna sit here and fall for the trap again, man? I'm not buying it. You had Devontae Adams, you had Garrett Wilson, you had all these people around you, and you still Zach Wilson outperformed him, technically record wise than Aaron Rodgers last year. So yeah, whatever. If he goes, I'm not scared. I'd be more nervous if they actually got a quarterback in the draft, a good one that is, rather than them getting Aaron Rodgers. But I hope they go get Aaron Rodgers to keep their quarterback just um, stupidity um, streaking. So good for them, I guess. Your mic's muted. You're talking.
Oh, my bad, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like for me, I don't necessarily see Aaron Rodgers coming to the AFC North. I think that he looks at a division with Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, all the weapons on both of those teams, and he just kind of says, okay, I because playing with George Pickens and DK Metcalf, I mean that's cool and all, but like, are the Steelers really like serious about winning a championship in the AFC North right now? Coming out of the AFC North, it's like I don't know if they are. I think that the Steelers are just kind of like piecing together these years until they maybe strike lightning in a draft or something like that. Um, that's why I don't think that they should go after Aaron Rodgers. I think that they should just accept a rebuilding period, and just come out stronger maybe in a year or two, something like that. But keeping this whole Tomlin streak of over 500 seasons alive, just for the sake of it, just so you can get like a mid to late 20s draft pick, right, and not really improve your team ever, that is not really conducive to being a successful franchise in the long run. Like stop just piecing together these mediocre average seasons. Like that's not where it's at, man. It's not where it's at. So that's what I think about that. I mean, I don't think that he's not necessarily like not good anymore at all, but I mean, he's lost one too many steps in a league where evolution, guys are getting bigger, stronger, faster, more skilled, by the year. It's He's just on his way out, man. He's on his way out. Same thing with Russell Wilson. But yeah, go ahead.
I'll say this: he's not going to be good in the AFC North. If
Mm,
if if he plays, if you have to play Trey Hendrickson, I think he's going to stay twice a year, and then possibly Miles Garrett and Abdul Carter twice a year.
yeah,
I don't think he's going to make it through. So if he goes to a different division, maybe he might be good. But in the AFC North, I can't see. Ask Russell Wilson how the AFC North was after Darius Washington. He met an undrafted 5'9" safety in the hole and see what happened to him. So I'm not sure what the Steelers are doing. I think if I'm a Steeler fan, their GM is just committing malpractice. Kevin Colbert and now Omar Khan. Like they're having a complete turnaround in quarterback rooms for the third straight year in a row. Like that's not how you build a winning football team. But who are we to say anything?
yeah. Who are we? Who are we? Just guys at the end of the bar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But again, man, it's time to. I don't want to say necessarily like blow it up, but it's time to go ahead and just rebuild. Just accept it. Just accept it. It's okay. It's okay. Let me see what we're saying here in the chat. Keep lighting up the chat. Want to keep that on screen. Make sure you guys can see what we're saying, especially after the fact. Even if you're watching this on the replay, would love to see you pour into the chat and come into the live one of these days. But all right, let's go ahead and shift gears here to another very, very interesting topic that has kind of just started in the last 24 hours or so. So as we know, right? Just recently, another Raven has crossed over and joined who we were just talking about, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's Malik Harrison, right? The second linebacker in 2 years, right? We lost Patrick Queen last season, and now Malik Harrison. And Malik Harrison was asked yesterday at a Steelers presser, how he feels about matching up against the Ravens again. And he was basically saying some things like, I don't have the exact quote, but I was reading it earlier today. He was saying that, back in practice, I wasn't really able to kind of like let loose and like really be myself defensively going up against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry because you don't want to mess up the quote unquote church money, right? But he said, now that I'm on the other side, basically I can kind of pin my ears back and I can go dominate like I know how I can do, you know. Now, me personally, let me just start off by saying I don't think he necessarily meant this in a very malicious way with like a lot of malicious intent, but it's, he's a competitor, right? He's going to get up there and he's supposed to say something that kind of promotes, the success of his team and the success of his play as a contribution to his team. So I understand it from that regard, but I know a lot of Ravens fans and off-season pundits and whatnot took that and kind of ran with it as like kind of like a shot at Lamar and Derrick Henry, like, oh yeah, like I've got your number and yada yada yada. But I think the main thing is, Malik Harrison has been with the Ravens for a couple of seasons at this point. He's gonna know, kind of like some of the telltale things with this Ravens offense. Him, Patrick Queen is one as well, and I think that's really where the Steelers are kind of messing with us here. Like getting some of our former players on defense, young guys who are going to come in. They're going to know the Ravens system, kind of inside and out, and that's where kind of like the detriment is for me. But where do you stand on this whole Malik Harrison and his comments on the Ravens?
Didn't work last year, week 16. Didn't work in the playoffs. So I'm not sure what they're doing. I mean, they took Elliott, Jeremiah Moon, Queen, Harrison. I mean, it still didn't work. Um, I don't know. I mean, what else do you expect him to say? Oh, those
Yeah,
guys ran around me in practice. I couldn't hit them because, like, that's kind of what he's expected. I'm not taking that as shots. Like, good for them. So, but I mean, as for them taking our players, I mean, it's kind of a maybe credit to EDC for maybe getting some good guys and other teams wanting them. I'll tell you what, most of the guys he's drafted, I mean, not all of them, they're still kicking around this league. Devin Duvernay now is on the Bears, Prochet's on the Titans. Like, they're still in the league, so they must have some type of talent, but obviously not the tier of the Ravens. But I mean, good for him. He got a second contract, which a lot of people cannot say in the NFL. So that's
yeah,
really just a big accomplishment to him. So best luck to him. I mean, I thought he had a really good game against the Chargers when we needed him to step in at linebacker. Him and Chris Board. Unfortunately, never got the starting role down. So hopefully he can secure it with the Steelers. But I mean, as long as he plays good, not against us, I'll be happy for him.
yeah. Fair, fair. Let's see what you guys are saying here in the chat. Let me see. Dre says EDC does not get enough credit. LOL. Every time I turn around, an AFC North team wants our players. Yeah, I think we do a pretty good job at developing guys and getting them to a point where, you know, they're valuable somewhere else. Like they actually have value. They may not be like huge impact players, but they do have value. Let me see. Dwa says, do you think Trenton Simpson is a starter next season?
I mean, you got to show something. Chris Board's gone. He was starting next to Roquan at the end of the year. So we got you in the third round for a reason. We need to see it. Unfortunately, year three, you know. So I hope he is for our sake. But man, you won't be surprised if we draft a linebacker. That's all I'm gonna have to say.
Yeah, I totally think that the Ravens they drafted linebacker with one of their first, I would say, five picks in this draft. I think they definitely go after a linebacker that they want to start grooming in order to kind of fill in next to Roquan Smith. Um, I think that Trenton Simpson, he's a guy who is, very athletic, very twitchy. Instincts wise, he's kind of like another Patrick Queen. You know what I mean? Like when Patrick Queen first came in and he was kind of um, thrown into that will linebacker position. It was tough for him. It was tough for him, kind of like reading the offense and kind of being in the right places at the right time, making sure his eyes are in the right spots. It was tough for him, And Roquan Smith is kind of like that hybrid. He can kind of do both, right? But you prefer Roquan on the strong side. It's just Trent Simpson. He's definitely gonna get his shot. He's definitely gonna get his opportunity this season, and I expect for Trenton Simpson to really come out with his hair on fire this season. This is like really like the prove it year for him. Like, okay, like you had your first season alongside Roquan. I mean, we brought in Chris Board because you weren't really doing it where we needed you to do it, but Chris Board's gone now. So like you have to be the guy. And if you're not the guy, this kid that we draft with one of our first five picks, he's gonna be the guy. We're gonna give him a shot. So if I'm Trenton Simpson, then yeah, like Jeremiah says, maybe he gets coached up. Yeah, I'm taking all the coaching I can get, and I'm going out there and I'm playing my ass off.
Yeah, and I got to give him a little bit of just a little bit. I don't know. His first 4 or 5 games, he played Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. That's not easy. Your first 4 out of your first 5 games as a starter, you're playing arguably, well, 3 top 5 quarterbacks, but
Yeah,
4 top 10. I feel like Dak's still top 10 if we're gonna be honest. Like he's in there. I'm not gonna fight that right now, but you're playing 4 high quality quarterbacks, as your first year starting. So you got to give him a little bit of slack. They cut him slack there, but I hope he does because man, having a solid guy next to Roquan does wonders for this defense, especially how fast he is. It can cut out just those short screen games, the short passes, and just sniffing out runs. That would be huge for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that we didn't really mention about Chidobe Awuzie earlier in the show is that he's actually a pretty good run stopper
Mm.
as well.
Hmm.
A very good complementary piece to the run stuffing game, coming from that outside. So that's another pro. That's another positive from picking up him. But yeah, man, to kind of put a bow on the whole linebackers thing, we definitely do think that Malik Harrison is not totally outside of his rights, to say what he said. He's supposed to kind of have confidence in himself and his team. However you want to take it is however you want to take it, but I definitely do think that it's still bulletin board material for a guy like Derrick Henry, who is going to meet him coming through an A gap or two or three or four or five this season. So we'll see who gets the better of those matchups. I'm sure Derrick Henry was listening, and he will try to go head up with Malik Harrison, and we'll see how that pans out. Now we do know for damn sure in open space, Malik Harrison is nowhere near quick enough to bring down a Lamar Jackson. Hell, maybe not even a Derrick Henry, but I think Lamar Jackson would really make Malik Harrison look foolish in open space, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Hopefully this next season, mainly just because he's a Steeler, and just kind of to put a bow on this topic. Marlon Humphrey also came out and tweeted the other day. He said, here we go, referencing a Marlon Humphrey tweet again. Marlon Humphrey said that, there's 31 other teams in the league, but you chose the yellow team. Like, screw you. You know what I mean? Like, so that was kind of telling to me. But what did you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, he said it last year, like, "Oh, you're dead to me." I know Lamar referenced it, but I'll tell you this: like, I would care more if they beat us in the playoffs. What I saw last year was a little bit of a growth. Lamar beat the Steelers more times in a month than he did in those previous 6-7 years as a starter. So that showed me something. That was probably big for his mental. Just that first win, then to go out there and just spank him again. So I
Yeah,
mean, like I feel like they're trying to play catch up with us, and this is not to be a cocky fan at all. Like I think we're just a really good team, and they're just a couple steps behind us, maybe a little bit more. But like I said, I'm liking what we're doing. We're not losing guys. I feel like can have a big impact for us. So
yeah,
I hope he has a good 2 years with the Steelers. Just not good against us.
yeah. Totally agree. Totally agree there with everything you said. Let me see. Slicer59 is in the house. Says Malik Harrison is slow AF.
Mm,
Never was a fan.
mm.
TBH. I mean, I can understand that.
Yeah.
I can understand that. Somebody mentioned earlier in the chat. Let me see. I think it was Tanja. Tanja mentioned this. She said linebacker is hard. Talking to Jeremiah here in the chat, says look how long it took Patrick Queen to
Yep.
develop, and Jeremiah said it took him like 3 years to be a baller. And like that's true. Like it takes a while. It's definitely not um, a young man's position. It's very rare that we see like a dominant linebacker, come in the first year and really just ball out. Other than guys like Jared Verse was one this season with the Rams. He's an animal. I think that he's going to have a very very nice career there in LA. But yeah, it's a tough one. But I do definitely see again. We're definitely going to go middle linebacker at some point within the first 5 picks. Out of our 11 picks in the draft, we're going to go with a linebacker in the top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. Is there anything we didn't cover, Alex?
Just a quick rundown of just some moves around the league.
Sure.
Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson going to the Giants.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah. So it's Jameis, Russell Wilson, and who? DeVito still?
Tommy DeVito. And possibly
Okay.
Shore Sanders.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So, I mean, is that what you want to do if you're the Giants? You know what I mean? Like, you have a Jameis, you have a Russell Wilson. Um, eh, do you go after a Shador Sanders? Would you if you're New York?
Not if you sign those two. Maybe if you sign one or the other, I completely
Yeah.
get it. But you sign those two for the hopes that you can get them to battle it out. Which, by the way, I mean, like, I'm sorry. This Russell Wilson stuff, man. I don't know what teams are seeing. Like, he's going to have his own, like, video of, like, washed athletes in just different uniforms as Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
He had his couple of moments with the Steelers, but once you figured him out, look how the Steelers ended the season. It wasn't good.
Right.
So I guess good on them. Jameis starting, you know what you're gonna get: pure entertainment, pure vibes. He'll probably put up 30 touchdowns. He'll probably throw a couple interceptions, but he'll give you about 100 good punchlines as well. I don't know what the
Yeah.
Giants are doing. They are very far behind in the NFC East. Like it goes to me like Eagles, Commanders like right there, and then like Cowboys, and then like all the way at the bottom is the Giants because they're just that far behind from everybody else. So if I'm an Eagle, Commander, or a Cowboys fan, that might be 2 wins though right there for you,
Yeah. No,
depending
I
who's
mean,
starting.
I agree. I agree. I mean, like you said, I mean, the Giants are sitting at pick number 3, behind the Tennessee Titans and the Cleveland Browns. I, I don't know. I don't know where these teams are going to go with these first couple of picks. I mean, it'll be very, very interesting to see on draft night. And of course, we'll be live as we always do every year. But Dre says here, taking Shador would make sense. Have him sit a year to learn behind 2 good vets, one a great QB in his prime, and Russ. I like it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of the way to go. Let them sit.
Yeah, it's yeah, because you don't get a whole lot of like rookie year talents at quarterback who just come out and really like light shit up. I mean, you had like C.J. Stroud a couple of seasons ago. This
Jaden,
past season, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix. It's hard to get a guy like it's very hard to hit on a guy in the first year at quarterback. So we'll see. We'll see. DWA says I would trade back if I was the Giants, kind of get a haul. More of like a haul as
yeah.
opposed to just getting one piece, one big piece. But I mean, I can agree with that. I can agree with that too. What else we got?
Ooh, who else do we have that moved on?
Oh, Diggs to the Patriots.
Stephon Diggs. I mean, I hope that D Hop deal looks better and better. I hate to say it. I mean, it really does. Like 1 year 5 for him and 3 years 60 some mil for Diggs coming off of a torn ACL. Who I love Stephon Diggs, but that's a lot. But they have money to throw around. They have so much
Yeah.
cap, and they're giving Drake May a reliable guy to throw to. So good on them.
How much was the Cooper Cup deal again?
I think 3 year 45, or I think it was like 15 million a year
Yeah, that
maybe.
sounds about right. That sounds about. I think 3 for 45 is actually it. Um, yeah, man. I mean, you could argue obviously that D Hop is probably the worst out of those 3 receivers, but I don't think it's by a huge margin. If I'm being honest with you, um, no, man, D Hop, and we talked about it on one of the last episodes. He is going to be, especially for the price, a very, very solid addition with this Ravens offense. Like it's a clear upgrade over Nelson Aguilar, which is, what everybody wanted. Um, as long as it was for the right price. Nothing against Nelson Aguilar, but there was definitely some upgrading to be had at that spot, especially as we watched Lamar Jackson go down the field with basically nobody in the later stages of that divisional round. So having a D Hop there, I think, kind of shores that up a little bit, that receiver room. So I'm comfortable with that. But yeah, I mean, these deals and with the Patriots, they're in their own rebuilding mode right now, and Drake May. My only issue is this: Stephon Diggs is kind of known to be like the typical diva wide receiver, in certain ways. So if Drake May is still developing, which I truly believe he is, I don't think that Drake May is going to have like some magical breakout season with the Pats next season where we're just kind of looking at him like, oh, this is you know, one of the next 4 horsemen quarterbacks of the AFC, if you will. I don't see him kind of taking that trajectory this year. But if things start to, like, I mean, let's say they start off, I don't know, 2-4. Diggs isn't really getting the ball as much as he wanted. Things like that. I could totally see some ruffles. I could definitely see some ruffles there in New England. I don't know when Diggs is supposed to come back though. I don't know if he'll be back early in
Yeah.
the season. Let me see. Were you looking that
So
up?
I think he should be. It was pretty early in the year, or kind of mid season.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pull up. I mean, we play the Patriots next year. We play that whole division. They play the South. It looks like the NFC South. I mean, I'm trying to see where maybe their wins can come from. The Patriots. I see. I think they can beat the Raiders. They can beat the Giants. Maybe the Panthers. But like, as for their division, maybe the Jets. I'm not too sure. Like, I could go meet even like maybe a 1 out of 5 or 6 games they win. Like, there's still a lot of rebuilding there for this team with Mike Vrabel. So I think you could see Diggs unhappy, but he will be getting his fair share of the targets though. So if he wins targets or winning, I'm not too sure, but he'll be getting the ball most of the time. considering with what they have there.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Anything else we got? What else we got?
That's kind. I mean, Tannehill and the Vikings have been talking. Obviously, Rodgers meeting with the Steelers, but it's been kind of quiet. I'm still surprised J.K. Dobbins is a free agent. Might be going into April
Mm,
when he's still out there. Thought he had a pretty good year last year when he was healthy. So looking at that, I mean, Tony Jefferson, old friend, got re-signed. Good for him to the Chargers. But it's kind of toned down, quiet. But you'll see it ramp back up after the draft, most likely.
yeah, for sure, for sure. All right. I think that covers everything we got for this episode 303 of PRP. Once again, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for coming out to this episode of the show. We will continue to do episodes throughout the off season as well. And look out for some of the YouTube shorts coming down the pipeline as well. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel as well. And with that being said, I'm going to let my guy Alex take us out.
Yes, thank you for coming through to another episode 303 of the Purple Brain Podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. As always, stay positive, test negative.
Yes, yes, yes. And never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. This is episode 303 of PRP. We're going to catch you guys in the next one. Peace.